Hello, everyone. I hope that you are doing well and have had a great Christmas and holiday season. For all of you watching, thank you for tuning in. This is not something that we have really done yet. It's something I've been wanting to do is put out some videos, just observing some different things that are going on in the church and in America and in the Christian culture. So I came across some articles and I came across some tweets, and these are things that have been going on, and they kind of drew up some thoughts in my mind. So what I want to do is I want to preface this conversation with essentially the topic of this is picking and choosing or cherry picking what it is that Christians choose to be upset about and what they turn a blind eye to. And it often seems that if it is a person they support and they're a fan of, they're much more willing to turn a blind eye to it than rather if the person is someone they don't support. So that's kind of what the theme of this video is about. So let's begin. I found this article on Relevant Magazine, and it is an article about Donald Trump Jr. and him showing up at Turning Point USA, which is a conference that is put on by a conservative group. This article is by Tyler Huckabee. It says, on Sunday, Turning Point USA hosted Donald Trump Jr., where he praised a crowd of young conservatives as the front line of freedom, but cautioned that following biblical teachings like turn the other cheek was holding them back and has gotten us nothing. He says, if we band together, we can take on these institutions, Trump told the crowd in Arizona. That's where we've gone wrong for a long time. So essentially, he is using the rallying point that we have to fight back against the Democratic Party and fight back against the culture and the powers that be and the people that have power. He says, we have turned the other cheek, and I understand sort of the biblical reference. I understand the mentality, but it's gotten us nothing. All right. So this is where we begin. This happened this last week. And obviously, it is what it is. A high percentage of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and the last election. They're the reason he got elected, essentially, and he really ran with that. He really used the Christian conservatives as a group that he really got to vote for him. And so there's a video right here. I'm going to play the video so that you can see this in context, because I do not really trust anyone these days when it comes to news articles, because everything's out of context. But let's check this out real quick. All right.
Take on these institutions, but we got to do it together. Okay, that's where we've gone wrong for a long time. If you've been and seen me speak here, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. But guess what, folks? If we get together, they cannot cancel us all. Okay? They won't. And this will be contrary to a lot of our beliefs, because I'd love not to have to participate in cancel culture. I'd love that it didn't exist. But as long as it does, folks, we better be playing the same game. Okay? We've been playing T-ball for half a century, while they're playing hardball and cheating. Right? We've turned the other cheek, and I understand sort of the biblical reference. I understand the mentality. But it's gotten us nothing. It's gotten us nothing.
All right. So that is his stance on the teaching of Jesus, turn the other cheek, and the attitude of holding to that is not going to get us anywhere. And get us anywhere means, I guess, the people that are fighting against the powers that be in America and what they're doing, in their opinion. So we see that this is kind of like a standpoint that he holds, and he is a political figure that holds a lot of weight and influence. And a lot of Christians support Donald Trump Jr., and the Republican Party. And this is kind of the attitude that the Republican Party has taken in the last couple of years, that there's this war that's being fought. There's this culture war that we have to fight, and we have to fight back the powers that be, and we have to fight back for our faith and our freedom. I personally don't feel like our freedoms are being taken, like as Christians. I don't think that anyone is taking away your right to worship and your right to um, follow Jesus in America. I don't think that that's the case. Um, and so this is the angle that Donald Trump Jr. takes, and this is what he presents to these people. And the issue here is when you have a lot of influence and you're saying these things, if you support him and you say you're a Christian, I think you ought to say like, no, I don't agree with that. I don't support that. And this is okay. Let me go ahead and say I'm not assuming that every person that voted for Donald Trump is a Republican or anything like that agrees with what he's saying. But what I am observing, it seems, is that there is a picking and choosing of what Christians get mad at, get upset at, and tweet about, and act like they got to fight against. And this is not necessarily the people that support Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. They don't seem to be the ones that are critiquing him for saying this. It's usually the other side, the people that don't support them. So there has to be a fair approach to this. And so another thing that has kind of occurred, and it's been going on the last couple of years, is there's controversy around Beth Moore. And if you're not familiar with Beth Moore, she is a woman who is a Christian speaker and teacher. She has been in the Southern Baptist Convention for many years, up until recently that she left the Southern Baptist Convention. She is now at an Anglican church there as a member. And that is where this next kind of bit that we're kind of talking through is rooted in. So I want to go back to like September 23rd is when this video was posted of John MacArthur at a conference. And this is just an example of the attitude that people kind of have towards, there's people seem to have had towards Beth Moore at times. So this is at a conference. John MacArthur is asked to give a response to a word, and this is kind of how he goes about it. So let me rewind. So give me 1 second. There we go.
Beth Moore. That's 2 words. Literalist. All right. Dr. MacArthur, Beth Moore. How many words do I get? Actually, and before you answer this, please think carefully this time, because last time you did a one-word association. The guy wrote a book about it, and we don't want that. I was thinking of the same word. Okay. Go home.
Okay, so he's asked, like, give a response to this word. The moderator says Beth Moore, and he says go home. Okay, well, clearly, obviously he's not a supporter of Beth Moore, and this is more than likely a conference where there's more Reformed theological leaning, and that more often than not leans to a complementarian viewpoint of leadership and marriage and things like that. And so what's interesting here is you see kind of like the attitude that he has, and this attitude of like pridefulness. And my thing is, like, even if you don't agree with her being a teacher, speaker, whatever, I don't think you have to go about it in this manner. And so a thing to be noted that John MacArthur is a very, very, very influential figure in Christianity. The last couple of years, he has been at the forefront of opposing some of the COVID mandates and things like that from a leadership standpoint in his church. And so, he has a lot of influence over a lot of people, just as Donald Trump Jr. does. And you kind of see this attitude of like, I'm against her. I don't support her. I don't care. So I'm going to say what I want to say. But what you don't see a lot of times is guys like this calling out, some of these political figures. And actually, in the past, John MacArthur specifically was actually someone who spoke out against Donald Trump early on. But he actually came back around in support of Donald Trump. So he did at one point have some critiques. But this is just an example of like the root of what's kind of at the heart of some of the stuff going on with Beth Moore. So what happened recently with Beth Moore is I found this tweet, and this has been going on, is she has joined this Anglican church, and she is participating in a service there. And this guy, I guess, found it, and she's participating, it seems like, as an acolyte of some kind, or participating in communion. And this guy tweeted, "They say there is no drift. However, we will never know fully the impact Beth Moore has had on the majority of women in our churches." Then he says, "Unfortunately, many credit her for their strong faith." He says, "Pastors, you have a responsibility to protect the sheep." So he's obviously opposed. So this attitude of opposition is not shocking, to be honest with you. It is one that is kind of common. People are very one-sided on different things. There's another tweet that I found where this guy mentions, he says, no, conservative Southern Baptists aren't mad Beth Moore went Anglican. We're saying we were right all along. She's an egalitarian mystic who never liked the Baptist statement of faith and rejects sufficiency of Scripture. And then he kind of pulls into question her character. When the SBC was no longer making her money, she left. So we have 3 examples here of people anti-Beth Moore and people taking stands for something that they believe in, something that they think is wrong, right? They think it's wrong that Beth Moore is teaching, and so they're opposed to that. What I am observing in this video and what I'm presenting in this video is that a lot of times what we find on the spectrum of Christianity, and this is right and left, I'm just specifically in this video targeting, I guess, conservatives, is that, this side doesn't seem to be the ones that are calling out stuff like what Donald Trump Jr. has said because they support the politics of the party in which he is associated with. But if someone who is opposed to their thoughts, theology, politics, such as Beth Moore, they are more than willing to critique, tell her to go home, and to question her character. So the question that I want to raise in this video is, what is it we're trying to do as Christians? Are we trying to win wars of our thoughts and opinions, or are we trying to follow the way of Jesus? And you, as a listener, you may disagree with me on this, and you may not even think I'm a moron or idiot, and that's okay. I'm not really offended. And so my question is, what are we trying to do? Do we feel really like we need to win a war, a culture war, right? I don't think that's necessary. Do we need to be prideful in our approach? Whether you have a complementarian view or egalitarian view, that I think you can go about that in a way that's gracious and shows love. And this is not, again, like, I'm not assuming that if you voted for Donald Trump that you agree with this, and I'm assuming that if you're complementarian that you agree with the way John MacArthur approached, or these guys approach dealing with things they disagree with. But what I am saying, and what I am observing and have observed for a lot of my Christian life, and I've been in many different churches, is I have seen the cherry picking and choosing of, if we support someone, we'll turn a blind eye, but if we're against them, we're very quick to critique them. And I'm guilty of this. So this is something that I think is really concerning, because when you have a political figure such as Donald Trump Jr. telling people that one of the main tenets of Jesus' teaching, which is turning the other cheek, has gotten us nothing, and we have to take a different approach, you begin to realize that the goals and the mission of what they're trying to accomplish is clearly the opposite of what Jesus is teaching. Because if you're turning away from the teaching and the words of Jesus, you're no longer participating in the kingdom of God. You're participating in the kingdom of politics, self, and what you want. And so I wanted to do this video just to kind of observe this and put out some thoughts on it. I think it's really important for us to question, like, what are we doing? What are we trying to win? And what are we trying to get? And this is not me. I mean, I just so happen to be critiquing conservatives in this video and complementarians, but I'll critique anyone that is, I think, moving away from the teachings of Jesus and not really trying to just stick to what Jesus taught. And I deserve that critique because I say I'm a follower of Jesus. So this goes for me, this goes for you, this goes for anyone that says they're a follower of Jesus. We are all called to follow the teachings of Jesus. So thank you for tuning into the video. I'm probably going to do some more of stuff like this more often. I kind of am intrigued by just observing like how things are going on in our country and how things are going on in the world and in Christianity. If you want to subscribe to Rethinking Christianity, hit the subscribe button. Be super appreciated. Check out our podcast. Find us on Instagram at Rethinking Christianity Podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, all those streaming platforms. If you have any questions or ideas, message us on Instagram. Super appreciate any support that you give us. Hope you have a great holiday season and time with family and a new year. And until next time, I am Blake, and this is Rethinking Christianity.